Welcome to this beginner-friendly tutorial for Autodesk Fusion, or as it was previously called, Fusion 360. In this video, we will go step by step and model a base plate, a bracket, some threaded hex key fasteners, and with them we will create an assembly, as we can see here. Overall, this video will guide you through the user interface, sketch tools, 3D modeling tools, how to create 3D assemblies, and we'll also take a look at materials and customization. So, let's get started. When we open Fusion, straight away we are presented with the modeling environment. In the very center, we have the 3D environment. This is where we will be sketching, 3D modeling, and creating assemblies. It is the main focus of modeling in Fusion. At the bottom, we have a panel of display tools and viewing tools, such as pan, orbit, zoom, etc., and we'll be covering each one of these and their shortcuts later. On the left, we have the browser. This organizes all of our design elements, such as parts, document settings, and also the default axis and default planes. At the top are our tabs, the main two of which are called Solid and Sketch, and under each tab is a series of tools associated with the tab title. On the right-hand side in the corner, we have the View Cube. This is used to help orbit and orientate parts or assemblies for better viewing angles, and we'll be using that a lot throughout this tutorial. First of all, let's start by creating a new project. I would always recommend creating a new project as it will keep each related part together alongside any related assemblies and drawing files for quick and easy access. So let's go to the top left and let's select Save. And let's call this first part Base Plate. And then when we come down to Location, let's select the drop down here, and then we'll see a list of projects. So if you haven't used Fusion before, you'll most likely just have the admin and the default projects available. That's absolutely fine. But in this case, let's go under New Project. And then let's call this, let's go for Fusion Tutorial. And then if we click Save, we'll now see that a Fusion Tutorial project has been created. Let's click Save again. And now this part and any future parts that we make will save into the same project so we can access them all together. Now we have created our project, let's start by creating the base plate. So to do this, we need to create a two-dimensional sketch to which we will then turn into a 3D model. As we can see on the screen now, these are the dimensions of the base plate, so let's go ahead and model this part. I will be modeling this part in millimeters, but if you want to change, you can come up to the document settings and then just click next to the units to change. You've got the option there to change to imperial if you want, so if you want to jump into inches. For me, I typically draw in metric, so I'm going to stay in millimeters. Some people find that the grid in the background can be a bit distracting. If that's the case for you, feel free to turn it off. So if we come down to the tools at the bottom, we hit grid and snaps, we can turn off the layout grid like so. I'm going to leave that on as the default though. Also, if you want to change the color of the environment, we can come down to display settings, then we select environment. And if you want to go, for example, a gray background, you can change like so. Or for example, a blue background. But for me, I'll stay with the default as photo booth, have a white background. So let's begin modeling this part then. Let's come up to the top where our tabs are. Make sure we're under solid. We want to come under the creation tools. Then we want to hit the very first one, which is create sketch. And then we are presented with three planes. So this one here is the ZY plane. This one here is the XZ. And this one here is the XY. We need to select one of these planes to do our two-dimensional sketch on. The more that you use Fusion, you'll have a better understanding of which plane to draw on, but I would always recommend choosing the plane which orientates best your part. So in this case, we're drawing a base plate, so the best plane to draw this one on is the XY plane. So I'm going to left-click once on this plane, and now we're looking at it perpendicularly, and we're ready to do a two-dimensional sketch on this plane. So let's start with the footprint of this base plate. So if we come up to the top under the tabs, you'll see there's a new tab here, which is Sketch. We have all our sketch tools, Creation, Modify, Constraints, and so forth. Let's come under the Creation tools, and let's select the two-point rectangle. We'll left-click here once, and we're going to start at the origin. So the origin is 0, 0, 0 on the X, Y, and Z planes. So let's left-click once here, and it should snap into place. Left-click once. And as we draw the mouse out, we'll see a rectangle begin to form. We'll also see that the horizontal dimension is highlighted. Okay, so if we enter a dimension on the keyboard, it will become that. So as per the model, let's go for 90 millimeters. And then we're going to hit tab on the keyboard, and that will bring us to the vertical dimension. And this is also 90 millimeters. Enter that. Press enter on the keyboard. Then you can see we've got our square there. If you want to pan around, what we can do is to select the pan tool down here. And then we can left click and move around. An alternative to that is to hold down the middle mouse button, and then we can pan like so. So that's a shortcut. If we want to zoom in and out, we can use the mouse wheel. So zoom in, zoom out. Now let's go ahead and add in this chamfer. So we've got a 45-degree chamfer at 20 mil. So to do this, let's come under the Sketch tab again. And in this case, we're going to select the Line tool. And I'm going to put the chamfer on this corner here. So to do this, I'm just going to left click on the vertical at any position, it doesn't matter for now, and then left click also any position on the horizontal. And then we'll want to apply a dimension between this endpoint and the origin at 20 mil, and likewise for this endpoint. So let's come up to Sketch Dimension, or shortcut D on the keyboard, select the endpoint of our line, select the origin, and left click once. I'm going to enter 20 mil on the keyboard, press enter. I'm going to do the exact same process for the endpoint of this line here. Now if we notice this line is blue in color, that means it's not fully constrained. So we need to add this further dimension, select the origin, enter 20 mil, press enter, and now we'll see this black color. So it's fully constrained, it's not moving anywhere, it hasn't got the option to move. Now we've also got this through hole feature, which is roughly in the center of this square. Let's go ahead and select the circle tool. I'm going to input this circle anywhere for the time being. The diameter is 35 millimeters. Press enter. I'm going to use the dimension tool again to dimension this accordingly. So we'll see that it's blue in color now. We want that to be black, so it's not going to move anywhere. Left click once on the circle. Let's go to the vertical. This dimension is 40 mil. Left click once on the circle to the horizontal. Left click and then 40 mil. Enter. Now I see the circle is black in color and it's positioned where we want it to be. And we've also got some fillets around this corner here, this corner, and this corner. Let's come up to the Modify tools and we'll select Fillet. And then we'll select this vertical line and this horizontal line, and you'll see a preview appear there. We've got an option to enter in the size of this fillet, which in this case is 10 millimeters. Press enter. We'll do the same for this corner here. So left click the vertical, left click the horizontal and the vertical, 10 on the keyboard. Same process, this corner here, horizontal, vertical, 10 on the keyboard, enter. And now I see that all of the entities here are black in color. Everything is fully constrained, and we're ready to finish the sketch there. So to do this, let's come up to the top right and select Finish Sketch. Okay, everything's looking good. Let's go ahead and 3D model this profile here. So let's come up to the top where our tabs are. Let's come under Solid, and we're going to select this tool here, which is Extrude, or a shortcut E on the keyboard. Let's click that, and we've got a toolbox pop up. Now, first of all, we need to define what profile we want to extrude. There are 3 profiles here. There's this one inside the circle, and then this one that's encompassed by the chamfer. The profile we want is obviously this one here, so we'll select that. Everything else we'll leave as default, so the extrusion will start from the profile plane. The direction is just going in one direction. The extend type is a distance, and we're going to state that distance here. Now, as per the drawing, that's 10 millimeters, enter 10. We don't want that to be tapered, and the operation, we do want it to be a new body. So let's click OK. Now let's come up to the view cube, and let's click on the home view. Now we can see the 3D model of that part. What we can do, come down here, we can select orbit, and then if we left click, we can orbit around the part like so. Or a shortcut on your keyboard would be to hold down Shift and then the middle mouse button, and then we can orbit like so. It's quite a useful shortcut. Another way in which we can orbit is to use the view cube. So if we left click anywhere and hold down on the view cube, move the mouse around, we can orbit the part like so. We can also look at specific faces. So for example, if I left click the front face, we're looking at it from the front view. I can then use these 4 arrows to rotate the part. Let's rotate it by 90. We can see the left view. Also click on the corner here. We can have a look at it from like an ISO view. We can also reposition what we refer to as the home. So to do this, we can right click, we can select the current view as home, fit to view. And if I just move that to a random angle, and then we select the home view, you'll see the home view has changed to what we set it as. So that is the base plate part complete. Let's just finish this off by giving it a color. Let's come up to modify. Let's click on the drop down. If we come down, we'll just assign an appearance. Now you can apply a material as well, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll just go ahead and let's go for a red color. I'm just going to go for a paint enamel gloss red. So I'm going to hold down left mouse button and drag that appearance across and let go onto the part. I'm going to close my appearances. There we have our base plate. Okay, so the base plate is looking good. Now let's go ahead and model the bracket. So to do this, let's come up to the top. Let's come under File and we'll click New Design. And then we're going to go straight away and save that. I want to call that bracket. We want to make sure that its location is under our project. So Fusion Tutorial, that's good. Let's click Save. Now let's start to model this part. So we're going to do this in stages, and first of all, we're going to start with the footprint. So again, let's go ahead up to Solid. Let's create a 2D sketch. And let's select the XY plane. And then we're going to start with the rectangle tool. So 2-point rectangle. Again, we'll start at the origin. We'll bring that out. And the horizontal dimension, we'll add in 80. We're going to hit Tab on the keyboard, add in 80 on the vertical. Let's enter. That's looking good. Let's get that chamfer in. So let's go to the line tool, roughly position that in. Now I'm going to select the dimension tool, endpoint of the line to the origin, 20, yes. Other endpoint of the line to origin, then 20, press enter. That's good. Let's go ahead and add this hole. So the center point circle, put that anywhere for the time being, and that has a diameter of 30 millimeters. And we'll sketch dimension that. So circle to vertical, going to be 40. Then circle to the lower horizontal, it's going to be 40 as well. And then from here, we can finish the sketch and we're ready to extrude this. So again, we'll come up to Solid, select Extrude, make sure that we select this profile here, not this one or this one. So left click once. Then for the distance here, we've got a distance of 10 millimeters. Leave everything else as the default. Yeah, new body is correct. Press OK. Take a look at that, looking nice. Now the next feature we'll add is the sidewalls. So that's the wall going along here and then down here. So to do this, we want to sketch on this face here. So we'll create a sketch, and then we've got the 3 default planes there, which we don't want to select, but we can select faces of our 3D body. So let's go ahead and select this face here. We'll look perpendicular at that. Then let's go ahead and use the 2-point rectangle tool. We'll draw in the wall at the back here. So we'll start in the corner. I'm just going to snap anywhere onto the vertical line there. Then we can go ahead and dimension that. So our dimension between this line here and this one, and it's got a wall thickness of 10 millimeters. It's 10, okay. Let's do exactly the same then for the other wall. So this corner here, bring that up anywhere for the time being. Let's dimension this line to this line. Again, wall thickness 10 millimeters. Press enter. Looking good. Now we do have a fillet here and also on the outside as well. But just to show you another way of adding fillets, we can do them in 3D mode. So I'm going to leave this 2D sketch as it is. I'm going to go ahead, come up to Finish Sketch first of all, and then Solid, Extrude. I want to select 3 profiles, 1, 2, 3, and I want these extruded at a distance of 40 millimeters as per the drawing. Okay, now you see here under Operation, we've now got the option to join to the existing body, which is what we want to do in this case. So let's stick with Join. Okay, now this is still one body here. Okay, so these 2 walls are then joined to our original body. I'm going to hold down Shift, middle mouse button, just rotate around. Let's go ahead and add in this fillet on this edge here then. So to do this, let's come under the Solid tools. We'll come under Modify. We'll select Fillet. And we'll select this corner here. And then our toolbox pops up. So we've selected one edge. Need to select the fillet radius, which in this case is 5 millimeters. Okay, leave everything else as the default. So constant radius. All looking good. Press OK. And we've got that fillet appear there. That's looking nice. We've also got the fillet on the exterior here. So let's choose the fillet tool again. We'll select this edge here. And this dimension is 15 millimeters as per the drawing. Press OK. It's looking nice. And we've got that uniform thickness running along the back wall. We've just got two features to add here. One is the hole on this wall and the other on this wall here. So to do this, we want the sketch on this wall. Let's create a sketch. We'll select this face here. Okay, looking perpendicularly. Let's select the center diameter circle. Again, I'll just draw that in anywhere for the time being. That's got a diameter of 15 mil. Press enter. And a sketch dimension circle to the vertical. That is 35. And then circle to this face here is 20 mil. Okay, the circle's in black, fully constrained, looking good. Let's go ahead and finish that sketch. Now we need to extrude cut. So we need to remove the material. So again, we'll select the extrude tool. Under here, we'll select our profile, which in this case is this profile here. Then under distance, we see the arrow here. So we can hold down the left mouse button and we can pull that out to extrude and add material, or in the other direction, we can remove material. Okay, so I'm going to put in a distance there. Going to be accurate. Put in a distance of minus 10 millimeters. Just rotate around. That's looking good. And the operation you'll see here has automatically selected cut. So we're removing material. It's okay. It's looking nice. Let's do exactly the same process for this face here. So create sketch, select the face, circle, diameter 15 mil, sketch from the horizontal 20, sketch on the vertical 35, finish sketch, solid, extrude. We'll select that profile there. I'm going to actually just show you how to do this. So if we just go under operation and click cut, okay, and then we go 10 mil. Let's make sure we reverse that arrow. Oops, put in that 10 mil again, minus 10, press OK. And then we have our two hole features. That's looking good. That's all the features of this bracket. Looking nice. Okay. Let's finish that up by adding an appearance. Let's go to modify appearance. I'm just going to go for, let's go for green. Let's go for the powder coat rough green. Okay, looking nice. And I'm just going to close that. Back to the home view. Okay, and there we go. That's looking nice. That is the bracket done. Okay, let's move on to the fastener then. Let's come up to new, select a new design. Let's first of all go on create sketch. Okay, now in this case, I'm going to select the ZX plane. And this is purely because this will best orientate the part ready for our assembly. I'm going to select that plane and you'll see what I mean when we come to the assembly file. Let's come up to our creation tools. So we're under the sketch tab. Let's go on the center diameter circle, start at the origin, just drag that out. We'll apply a diameter there of 15 millimeters. Let's go ahead and extrude that. We'll come under solid, come under extrude, make sure that profile is selected. Okay, I'm going to put in a distance there. In our toolbox, we'll leave everything as the default, but for the distance, let's add in 30. And now we need to add the head of the bolt. So we've got the shank already. Let's come under create sketch. In this case, I'm going to choose this face here of the shank. Let's go under the center diameter circle tool again, start at the origin and bring that out to a diameter 25 mil. Let's come up to solid. Let's extrude that profile there. Now notice we have two profiles. So the one which we've created there, and there's also an auto-generated one coming from the shank. So we want to select both of those. We want to extrude those by a distance of 5 mil. Looking nice. Let's go ahead and add in a chamfer then to this edge here and also this one. Come up to modify, select chamfer. I'm going to select this edge here and this one. And our toolbox for the chamfer pops up. So we've got the two edges identified there. Want these to be equal distance. Okay, so in this case, we only need to put in one dimension, which is 2 millimeters. You'll see both of these are now 2. Leave everything else as default. It's okay. Then we've got that nice chamfer on the head there, just at the base of the shank. Let's now put in the thread on the shank. So come under Create, then come down to Thread. And following our toolbox, we need to select the face to apply the thread to. In this case, we'll select the shank. Now the thread type is automatically an isometric profile, but feel free to adjust according to your needs. I'm going to stay under the default there. Under size, so it'll automatically recognize the diameter of the shank. So in this case, the designation is M15 by a nominal pitch thread of 1.5. Class and direction, leave as the same. But if you're doing a left-hand thread, feel free to change. Press OK. And now we need to do one more feature, which is the keyway on this face here. Let's go into Create Sketch. We'll select the face. Then we'll come under our Creation Sketch Tools. We'll select the polygon. In this case, going to use the circumscribed polygon. Select that. We'll start the origin. And as you see, as we drag this out, we're then going to add in a dimension from the origin to the flat. So flat to flat is 10 mil. So origin to the flat will be 5 mil. So okay. Looking good. We just need to remove some material there. So let's come under Solid, go and Extrude. Make sure that we select the right profile. So we want this one here. And let's just make sure that's in the right direction. Okay, so it's a negative dimension. So in this case, it will be -5. Leave everything else as default. Operation set to cut. Press OK. We've got our keyway. And there we have our fastener. And we're now ready to form our assembly. Let's go ahead and save that part then. And we'll call this fastener. We'll make sure that the location is under our project folder, Fusion Tutorial. Click Save. And now we're ready to move on to our assembly. Now let's go ahead and make this assembly. And this is where things get interesting. So let's come up to the top. We'll go to File. We'll go on another New Design. And immediately, let's save that. And we'll call this, let's go for assembly file. And then make sure the location is the project we created. So Fusion Tutorial, click Save. And now we're going to come back up to the top left, and we're going to select Show Data Panel. And within this, we'll see every part that we've created under our Fusion Tutorial project. And if you want to see any other projects that you're working on, just select Home, and you'll have them all listed here. The one we're focusing on today is Fusion Tutorial. I'll double left click that one. And now you'll see we've got our assembly file, base plate, bracket, and fasteners. Let's go ahead and add in the base plate then. There are two ways to do this. Number one is to right click and select Insert into Current Design. Well, the method I like to do is just to hold down the left mouse button and drag that anywhere into the environment. The part will appear. We've got our toolbox pop up. We've got some options to orientate the part. So we can use these wheels to rotate the part. We can use these arrows to move them in linear directions. We've also got the center point of this part, in which we can just drag anywhere we want. So I'm just going to press Ctrl Z and put that on 0 on the X, Y, and Z, and also all the angles 0 as well. I'm quite happy with that being the position. I'm also going to rotate the view cube, have a look at the part from the corner, zoom out a little bit. Now let's go ahead and add in the bracket. So that will sit on top of our base plate. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button, drag that into the environment. That's not exactly where we want it, as it's conflicting with the base plate. So we want to move that in a linear direction up. So we can move that up on the Z-axis by 10 mil, and that's where we want it to be. However, I do want to show you how to use the joint command. So for this, I'm actually going to raise it slightly higher and offset that. And we use the joint command to constrain and make these a rigid mate. So I'm going to leave that as 40 mil. That's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 fasteners. So let's throw in one. I'm going to roughly position this. So I'll hold down its center point, bring that over here. I'm going to use this wheel to rotate that by 180 degrees. I just offset that slightly as well. I want to form a joint between this hole and this fastener. Press OK. Let's draw in another fastener. Drag that over. Okay, use the center point, roughly position that, rotate that by 90. And I'm just going to move that in this direction, and we'll form that joint later. Press OK. Now this base plate here is fixed. It was the first part we put in. The bracket we can move. It's free to roam. It's not constrained to anything. And the same for the two fasteners as well. So now we need to go ahead and add in joints. So to do this, let's come under Assemble. We can select Joint, okay, or the shortcut J on the keyboard. It's very straightforward to use. We've got the option to determine positions and motion. So motion is very typical to go with rigid unless you're doing moving parts. So feel free to have a play around with those. But for this particular assembly, we only want to have rigid joints. And under position, we need to snap 2 points together. Okay, so in this case, let's focus on the bracket and the base plate. So for the base plate, I want to select this point here, and I want to make sure that it's referenced from this face, okay, not from this face. So for example, this is what we don't want to choose, and this is what we do want to choose. So let's left click once there, and just rotate the model, and then we're going to choose the corresponding joint point for the bracket. So again, from this face here, I want to choose this point. I'm going to left click once, and you'll see we've got that mate there. It's not exactly the orientation that we want. So in this case, I'm going to use the wheel just to position that by, in this case, minus 45 degrees. I'm going to press OK. And now we cannot move this bracket. It's now got that rigid joint to the base plate, and the base plate is fixed in place. So that's looking good. Now let's do these two fasteners. So still, these are both roaming around free. Let's go and Assemble and Joint. And in this case, I want to make a joint between the center point of this circle, as we see is highlighted there. I'll just select that circle, rotate around, and come over to this circle here, and we can see its center point being identified there. So we select that circle. That is the mate that we want to have. That's looking good. Let's press OK. And again, that's a rigid mate. So again, I cannot move that fastener, cannot move the bracket, cannot move the base plate. The only thing that's still in motion is this last fastener here. Let's add a joint to that then. And do the exact same process. Set the center point of this circle here. And I want to select the center point of this circle here. That's looking nice. So that's a rigid motion and position. That's all good. Press OK. And there we have our complete assembly. Now in the next section, I want to cover on how we can edit assemblies and parts as well. So stay tuned for that. Let's now take a quick look at how we can edit assemblies or parts. So as an example, let's say that we wanted to increase the diameter of this hole by 5 millimeters. That hole is a feature as a part of this bracket. So we need to go into the bracket to edit it. So in our project folder, okay, we right click on the bracket, select open. And once that's opened, there are two ways to do this, but I recommend coming down to the bottom here where we've got the timeline. Okay, and what you can do is move the arrowhead kind of back in time. Then we can, as I say, go back in time and see where we were at that point. So each symbol here represents something. This symbol here is a sketch. This is an extrusion. And then we can see we've got the fillets there. Also got another extrusion. And the last extrusion was the hole that we cut there. This hole here was a feature as a part of the very first sketch that we did, which is this one here. We can actually turn that sketch on under the browser where we have our sketches. Okay, it's sketch 1. We can actually see that sketch there. So if we come down to the sketch at the bottom, right click on it, and if we edit that sketch, we can then make any changes here. Let's boost this up to 35 mil, press enter. Okay, finish that sketch. And we can see visually the size of that hole has increased. Let's also go to measure that. So if we come up to the top, inspect, measure. So the shortcut there is I on the keyboard. Here we need to select some geometry. We'll select this face here. And then under our toolbox, we can see the diameter is increased to 35 mil, which is correct. We just need to make sure from here that we save the file. Okay, so I'll just click yes, okay, save. And then if we come back into our assembly, so right click, okay. We'll then see that in the browser, we have these exclamation marks and also at the top here. Now this indicates that there has been an update and we need to activate that update to be reflected in our assembly. So to do that, we come up to the top and we need to update that child component, which in this case is the bracket. And then we can see visually there that our hole has increased. And again, I'm just going to double check that. Click that geometry and again, diameter 35 mil. And it's the same diameter now as the 35 mil, which was what we did for the base plate. A few edits that we can do in assemblies. So we see here, we've got these symbols here. They indicate rigid joints. If we come over to our browser, we hit the drop down next to joints, we can actually turn the visibility of these off. So now we can no longer see those indications that there are joints there. We can turn them back on by selecting the eyes here. And if we want to edit them, we can right click and then go to edit joint. We can see we're then referring to this joint here, and we can make any coordinates that we like. And one more example I'll show you. Let's say that we wanted to increase the height of these walls here. So we need to go back into the bracket, right click, OK. Come down to our timeline and identify that feature. So if we jump back in time, we'll see it's this feature here. Right click, select edit the feature, and we can change that dimension. So from 40, let's boost that up to 60, press OK. Then we're going to move our arrowhead back to the end. Again, let's save that. Press OK. Let's right click on our assembly file, click open. And then again, we're going to hit the update child component. So it's just going to follow along that update from the bracket, reflect that in the assembly. And there we see now the walls have increased by 20 mil in height, and also the according joints are still relative as well. And so that is an overview of Fusion, or Fusion 360 as it was previously called. I hope you enjoyed that. It was of educational value. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section and I'll reply as soon as I can. But aside from that, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.